Hello and welcome to In the Game, Qatar's first sports podcast. Today, you've heard it so many times, we have some very special guests on the show today. I was 13. I'm running away with myself. Today we have Duncan Goodhew. Everybody's cheering, I can hear them in the background. And we've also got Helen Vost. And she's from the Youth Sports Trust, which is an incredible charity that's run in the UK. They're going to introduce themselves very soon. But for those that don't know, Duncan Goodhew in 1980 won the gold medal in the Olympics for 100-metre breaststroke.
Actually, I've got something in my pocket.
Please, please bring it up. If you've got it, bring it up.
I had to check.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, it's real. It's there. Hey, there was. You have a look at that. Because I know you were 13 years old when you saw me actually break through and touch the end and win that gold medal.
All my family, I've got 4 children, okay, and my eldest knows who you are, but the others, and I have to say that our producer also didn't know who you were, and me and Stefan made him aware very quickly.
Well done,
but
Stefan.
to be able to touch this, Duncan, and I'm so privileged to be touching this, because at 13 years old I was in the living room with all of my family and cheering.
I needed all the help I could get. It worked.
You were such an inspiration, because the Olympics, we weren't doing that great in the Olympics when I think back. So when you got a gold medal, you were a hero, right?
Well, it was a watershed moment for me and that Olympics for Britain, because we won 5 gold medals in Moscow. And that was a lot of gold medals.
That was a lot of gold medals.
Seb Coe, Lord Coe now, and Ovett and Daley Thompson and Alan Wells, of course. And I was the first to do it. So, it really felt great.
Dear me. And it was just so, it inspired everybody. It did. It was just so much, it was so great for the nation.
And I came back to something that was so special. I mean, having lost my hair when I was a kid, I was 10 years old, I lost my hair. Everybody kind of recognised me, and baldness wasn't normal. People used to sweep their hair over and wear toupees and things like that. So when I got home, everywhere I went, I was recognised, and it was amazing.
And just touching on this, and we will bring you in, Helen, I promise you.
No worries.
Just touching on this, and you've just brought something back to me. I used to have a friend who used to inspire me. He wanted me to go into race boards for big races, windsurfing.
Yeah.
And he used to have a wig. He had alopecia. Okay? And the wig looked terrible.
Oh, I used to wear one for a little while because I got a little insecure about it, in my late teens, about dating girls and stuff. So I started to wear one, and it was quite good because I could wear a long one. Yeah. And you're meant to have short back and sides at the school I went to.
Right.
And whenever they told me to get a haircut, I just took the wig off and said, is that short enough? and not being a bit clumsy around girls, I duffed my wig a couple of times to new girls, and that really wasn't so good. And there was a startling time when I was leaving the carol service, and the wig got caught on a limb of a tree, and all the parents were so I had some fun with it. But it was tough, and losing your hair is tough. It's very it's very visual thing, and certainly I don't know what age your friend lost her hair. People thought you were suffering from a cancer sufferer, and so it was a really odd blend of staring and gawking, and when I lost my hair I was 10 years old, so it was kind of bizarre.
Well, I got to say that he never wore that when you, and I'm not giving this back until at the very end, and you will try to.
No, you can't see Steve. He's actually hugging it. Nearly,
it's just unbelievable. I must admit, I'm just enthralled by it all, and I really am. Since I know that you were coming on the show, I just can't keep quiet about it. It's just one of those things. And again, and I will just say one more thing. He then didn't, after you won the gold medal, it was accepted. So he never had a wig from there on. Yeah. And it was just one of those stories. So again, the little kind of moments you get where you create a ripple.
Yeah.
And then you created
well,
so
thank
many.
you very much for saying so. I mean, having lost my hair when I was 10 years old and dealing with all that, I also had dyslexia, which wasn't recognised until I was 13 years old. So, what that meant was in a practical sense, I was in the back of the class. And swimming, when it came along when I was about 8 years old, it was the lifeline that saved me from drowning in the classroom.
Yeah.
But it also set me up with a profound knowledge of personal knowledge of what sports does for you to change your life. Swimming changed my life, and there's not one moment in my life now that hasn't been impacted and changed for the better since I started competitive swimming. And in a sense, that's why I'm here today, and also next to Helen Vost, who is Youth Sport Trust International Chief Executive. But she's also the lady that I sat down with over 25 years ago, and she filled in the forms that started the charity, and I was the cheerleader behind the pen.
Oh, but isn't that just... And these are the type of things that I love in this podcast, because you can kind of let... This is a very young journey for Qatar, especially from a sporting perspective, and they're trying so hard. So when you listen to these relationships that you've built up over the years, and let's face it, the amount of good, and I know that you're not going to come on here and say, oh yeah, we've done this, but you're doing an unbelievable story when it comes to youths in sports, right? And coming together as a team so that you can bring more and more people together. This brings us on to, if you don't mind, to you, Helen. So can you tell us a little bit about what the kind of things that you do?
Okay, so the Youth Sport Trust was actually set up by Duncan and a businessman in the UK called Sir John Beckwith 25 years ago, with the mission to really improve the lives of young people through sport. And quite quickly, we went beyond working in the UK, and I head up the international side of the charity. And that's what we've been looking to do here in Qatar over the last 3 years, is to work closely with the British Council and to work with teachers and young people to develop leadership skills in young people through sport, and to really demonstrate how sport is a fantastic way of developing confidence, teamwork. It's just a fantastic tool to work with young people with.
Yeah. It's an amazing story, and again, I've been here for nearly 11 years now, and seeing the way that things are developing here, and especially, and I know there's a lot of kind of people talk about the World Cup, especially back in the UK, but they deserve it. The Middle East deserves it, because as you've seen youths develop and the amazing things that you do, it's the future, right? So this is the future. So this is just unbelievable what it's doing in this part of the world. Unbelievable.
Well, Helen's been very modest. Sport is as good as or as bad as those people who are involved in it.
Yeah.
It has to be done in a fair, equitable way. People have to obey the rules, and it's no point having a good team playing a team with no ability to beat them. It's to do with fairness.
Yeah.
That's what good sport is. But it's much more than that. We as human beings haven't evolved to polish a chair yet, and we are physical, and we learn lessons through being engaging in the physical side. And tomorrow we have a conference, and it's all about how you get young people to have a better first experience, and then learn and know they're learning.
Yeah.
So that it's about, first of all, the kind of what are you doing? How are you using sport in a positive way with inclusion and fair play and all those other things? But in addition to that, how do you make it sustainable?
Yeah.
And the Youth Sport Trust has been brilliant at developing programs that don't only work on the confidence of the young person and developing strategies for lifelong health and fitness, and which have massive social gain and benefits for a country. It's also about how do you get the young person to realise their learning skills that are just not about sport. They're more general than that. They're about job skills, how to lead, how to be a part of a team, how to communicate better. And the fact that they're actually doing it together and learning together and leaving it with a point of learning. But it goes beyond that, because it's not just about training and the programs, it's about training the trainers. So in future, the trainers will be able to be trained by Qataris. So it's self-sustaining.
Yeah. And that's really important, because we've had many different guests. We've Amal, she was a lady basketball captain for Qatar, and now she's gone on to be a referee for both men and female, which is a really good stepping stone for her. We've had Mariam Farid, and they've all got the same stories, like you said. And there's so many things that you learn from sport also with what you're saying. One is, for me, is discipline. It installs discipline, it installs respect, it installs all of those things that do help you in every aspect of life. So this must be so rewarding for you.
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic for us to be here, and we actually have a course running today where we have introduced something for the first time outside of the UK called the Youth Sports Award,
right,
which is a reward and recognition scheme for young people, so they can chart what they are doing when it comes to health and well-being and achievement and developing their leadership skills, and may well help them to perhaps become volunteers in the future at things like the World Cup.
Dear me, and this is the type of thing that I sometimes wish that because I didn't know about this before, but I'm so pleased to have known it now, because I love to fly the flag wherever I can. So please, you are doing an amazing job.
And the thing is, it's so obvious that you don't realise it. A kid only knows they're learning when they're shown they know they're learning.
Yeah.
And that's the really clever bit that Helen and the whole team have developed. As a child progresses, they're getting clear markers on how they've progressed in areas they know they need to, that don't only work for sport, but also work for them as in terms of employability. And you think, well, the kids don't know about this. And yes, the kids do. They're much smarter than we were when we were kids. You know, they've moved on. They get it. They have much more access through social media to these things.
Yeah.
And nowadays they understand. And if you give them something, they know they've got it. Then they're really thrilled by it, and they want more.
Yeah. And I'm going to come back. 25 years you've been doing this. Have you got something that really stands out for you?
Oh gosh. Well, I suppose what immediately springs to mind is probably London 2012 Olympic and Paralympic Games. There was a legacy programme called International Inspiration, which was bringing alive Seb Coe's promise to really inspire young people around the world through sport. And we had the privilege to become a delivery partner with British Council and UK Sport and UNICEF to deliver that programme in 20 countries around the world. So to actually see how sport engages young people and then can really change their lives, give them aspirations, really help them believe that they can achieve, is an incredible thing to experience.
It is, and the one thing, Duncan, you were the one with. Well, you can tell why I'm just the cheerleader. I mean, I just say the words. The actions are done by the Youth Sport Trust and Youth Sport Trust.
Did you realise? Did you when you were asked to play a part, or did you have the idea or concept?
No, it was Sir John Beckwith. It said something needs to be done, and I said, yeah, well, you need to put £1 million on the table. And he introduced me to Helen Vost, and we were fortunate enough to hook up with Sue Campbell, who's now Baroness Sue Campbell, and she played a massive part as well in the whole building it. And it's all, it comes back to sport, anything in life. It's about people. It's about the right people together, giving each other permission. And once you get a certain traction, then people join you, and it's been like a little It's been just a wonderful experience.
And again, because we're going through this now, so and where I'm taking this now is that Qatar is so it's having challenges on a daily basis, but they want to push forward because of the legacy, because of the development of the country, and doing more sporting events now. So you started off, and this is really important for them, for the top people, because you started 25 years ago. Somebody approached you. You said, put £1 million on the table and let's see where we take it. You were involved, Helen.
Yeah.
And did you realise it was going to get to this stage?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had a very clear vision of how it would go, and the founder did too. And it was all about unlocking resources and getting people to work together and curing issues and problems. And, when we first started, it was about the younger people at primary school, elementary school. And it was about looking at how they weren't getting a good first introduction. Physical education in schools in Britain was very poor.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times the teachers had very little, maybe an hour or two of in-service training to deliver physical education.
Yeah.
It was appalling.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go, how do we get from this point where it's awful into a better place? And it was about unlocking government funding, about getting people to understand the issues and using those issues to join people together to get alliances where people were working together. And the Youth Sport Trust has been incredible at pulling partnerships together and getting clear vision of how we can make a difference to both Britain and take those learnings abroad as well.
I'm only for the first time I'm looking at our success in the sports, and especially the Olympics and different other where we're a small nation, and we've got an incredible amount of successes, right?
Yeah.
So you must feel a part of that in some way. I know you're humble, but you've made a massive inroad into those areas, right? And the success. And I know they've got coaches and all the rest of it, but you've got to start in the grassroots, right? And that's where you started.
Our focus has always been very much on grassroots sport, I think, and Duncan can probably speak more knowledgeably about this than me. I think the real turning point in the UK was when the lottery funding became available to support elite athletes. And then we saw that incredible change and extraordinary medal tally in Beijing and then London, and then even an improvement, which I'm not sure has ever happened before in Rio.
I mean, it's if you could pinpoint one thing, it was the National Lottery. It was funds being available, and that started in the early 90s, and they sat down with a plan, and it wasn't politically impacted. It was money to push forward, and they have a very clear. And for instance, in swimming, in 2000, we had a most appalling a result for the swimmers at the Olympic Games in Australia. Rather than putting the funding going down, it went up. And part of the plan was to win major competitions. So there was a strategy on how you do that. Hence, we got 2012. But going back, I knew this because I'd been involved with the lobby to get it.
Right.
And I knew that there was money available for schools to draw down off the National Lottery. And eventually we got, although it didn't come through us, £7.7 million of funding before we even had a proper logo. And we also had the £1 million and we also got BT sponsorship. So, we can't say that it was us that generated it. We were just part of what was going on, and we were the grassroots bit that will carry on playing a massive part. And it has been so successful that never before have you had an increase before Olympic Games. Yes, that's been done, of gold medals, and it's always shocked the host nation. In fact, one country had to renege on a promise because they promised a whole bunch of money to gold medalists, and afterwards they went, "Oh, we can't afford it. We've run too many." And then what happens is it then drops the other side and then continues to drop. In Britain's case, we're the first country that is actually elevated and gone up after the Olympic Games.
That's. I know it's a team effort, but to be a part of that, again.
Oh, God, well, it's right on the edge. It's lovely. It's wonderful. You're dealing with young people, dreams, visions, excitement. It's young minds, pitting themselves against each other, or learning, or whatever it is. In sport, it offers, taking part. And health and fitness and all those other things, life lessons, leadership, and on up to the cutting edge that I was at for a little while.
One thing that I would say is I'm going to take you back a little, because it was a word that you said, which I was watching something on LinkedIn just recently, and they were asking what's the most important thing. Is it the money or is it the vision? And he was saying it's the vision. The vision has to come first. It's got to be the vision.
Yeah.
So with the way that you've had this vision, tell me some of the success stories that you've had with young, that you've seen come through the ranks, and then that's already achieved things from starting with yourselves, or you've implemented something. Is there people that you can mention?
Well, there's a conference happening tomorrow, the Qatar UK Sport Education Conference, and we're absolutely delighted that one of our speakers tomorrow is Mohsen, who is a trainer who we trained back in 2010 in the lead up to the London Olympic and Paralympic Games. He's an economics teacher from Borneo.
Okay.
He's now become one of our best international trainers, and he's delivering the Youth Sport Award training in Qatar today.
That's just incredible,
That's
right?
brilliant, isn't it?
It is brilliant, and it must. It must. I can't. The thing that I was going to say, 25 years. You must love every second of it, and each day must be a new reward.
Well, I mean, for me, I was. There's just one kind of not quite on message, a story, but I hope you'll indulge me and excuse me, because it was just so amazing to be able to do it. In 2012, they were struggling to decide who was going to light the cauldron. And I got the invitation to go and see the ceremonies team. And I'm going, why me? And I turned up there and I find out they've had this problem. And they've decided, right, absolutely correctly, and I think it was David Hemry, the gold medalist, David Hemry, who came up with the idea, said, well, why don't we have young people light the cauldron? And they started with 6, and for various reasons it had to be 7, which I can tell you after the podcast. And they said, Duncan, we'd like you to be one of the 7, international heroes, as they were. I'm going, who, me? And they said, we want you to pick a young swimmer who will be a future gold medalist, hopefully. And I went back and I thought, that's not really me, and I found one and I chose them and I put them on a piece of paper, and then I said, what's me is I realised that literally thousands of people that gave me permission to go and win a gold medal. The coaches, the managers of the teams, the timekeepers, they're all there giving you permission to do what you achieved. And I thought, what I'd like to do is pick one of these incredible young people that we found through the Youth Sport Trust, who is a young leader, and I'd like to challenge 2012 Open Ceremony teams to whether they want what you'd expect, a future gold medalist swimmer, or they'd like to, recognise what part the volunteers and the leadership and everything else. They went with Jordan Duckett, the young person that the Youth Sport Trust had found and developed. And to me, I was sitting on the couch at the opening ceremony, ready to go out into the stadium with the whole world watching, and and Daley Thompson was there, and we were going, wow. God, who could have thought that anything could beat and top winning a gold medal?
Yeah.
This is doing it. And apart from having children, I don't know anything like this. And day in, I was just going, wow. And eventually went out and did the business and everything. And it took me till about Christmas, because it really bothered me why it was so extraordinary. And you know what it was? I whittled it down eventually. The gift of giving. It was the gift of giving.
Do you know, I'm married with 4 children, 4 grandchildren, and I'll tell you a story. It's unrelated to sport, but it's the way that we bring up our children, and the way that we bring up our children bring up their children. And I went on holiday to Turkey, and I gave my granddaughter some money to spend. There, take some money. Whatever you want to spend it on. I didn't notice it at the time, so she then ran off into the store, and she went in there and she came out with 3 bags full of stuff. Okay, and I didn't understand what she was doing. I'm thinking it's an all-inclusive holiday place where we don't have to buy anything. It's all paid for. But she noticed a little lady down an alleyway with holding her baby. She wasn't begging. She was just in a terrible place. And she went and got 3 bags of shopping to do this. Now, and people look up to me, and this giving thing is so important, because I always say on every one of the podcasts, just offer your hand of friendship with a smile. You will not believe what that will do. You know, sometimes that has just an amazing effect, and you'll never know. You'll just never know what that does. And it's kind of and just you epitomising that, just saying the act of giving. It's like the more you give, the more you receive, whether you think it or not, and you'll never know sometimes. And you've done it, and you've done it on a huge scale, but that doesn't stop us from doing it on a very small scale, as long as we're all coming together and making this world a better place.
Well, you just said how, you know, my actions of winning with being bald had helped your friend.
Yeah.
And Matt Lucas, the other day, we did a little bit together, and I'd written to Matt, and it was about the time he'd lost his hair. And I was saying it's okay, and he was almost in tears. It was so emotional, and just, you know, you just if you naturally just give, things happen around you, and you know, sometimes you can get a bit cynical about things, and it's a shame to do that, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings, we're all fallible, we all make mistakes, and we all need help.
And you can't do this on your own. And
no,
it's
impossible. We're human beings. We're social beings.
Yeah.
You cannot do anything by yourself, hardly. And if you're really brutally honest with yourself, you realise that you need people, and you need them much, much more than you think you need them. All of us. We're all guilty of that.
This world is a better place for you two. I'm telling you. I'm holding on to this, because I can't.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried. I'm going to have to prize it off you. I have to fight it to get back.
And I don't want to try to emphasise this to our listeners or kind of people that's viewing this. But I got to tell you, we're all sat round the living room. We're all there waiting for this race. We've all got our hearts in our mouth. You know, I can still feel you getting on that. You kind of, I hear the commentator, and then and oh my word, when you got up to you'd done the first 50 metres, and we're going, is he going to make it? Is he going to make it? Is he going to make it? Where is it?
I very nearly gave it away.
Oh dear, I thought we didn't know whether you were going to make it or not, but the cheers even got louder, because we didn't know you, but we did know you. You were in our living rooms, and it was like it was a believing. And when I look at this, it's not so that it's just got this wonderful feeling that anybody can do what they want to do. Sometimes you've got more natural ability. Sometimes you've got to work a little bit harder. But just seeing you and being part of your experience, and I must say I was part of your experience, the whole nation was part of your experience. The amount that's done is just, we will never know.
Well, I think the thing is that if you think of the infinite number of things you could be pretty good at, so rather than saying to a child, you know, you're not achieving, we should be looking at the child to find out what what they are good at, because there's infinite things that they could be good at.
Yeah.
And we just need to shape up a little bit more on our attitude towards what success is. You know, success is not about gold medals. It's about actually feeling good about yourself, confident, and being able to feel that you're contributing to something, a purpose.
Yeah.
And, you know, sport is one of those very valuable tools we can use to help young people find something they're good at, or perceive they're good at, that they're improving at, that they can build their confidence, build their, you know, knowledge of how the levers they can pull to make it better and work as a team and leader and be volunteers and all these other things. And it's a very simple, it's very, very difficult to put into place.
Yeah.
And it's very slow burn too. It takes a long time to change behaviours, change attitudes, and also, you know, speed people up in what they perceive quality is. Because at the end of the day, it's all about how each interaction you have, what is the quality of that interaction, what are you gaining out of it, you know, both ways, or however many people are in the room with you, and then moving forward. So the past is not as good as the future.
Yeah. And on this, I'm trying to kind of equate it to what's happening in Qatar. You're a perfect example to look up and say, you've got to believe in what you're doing, from that vision perspective to actually following it through, and all those things which are just fantastic to be able for people to listen to, because there's a lot of people in that situation right now and listening to those words, because you've done it, you've both done it, and that's so important. What would be your message, both of you, for this question is, what would you say to the young people today that were kind of listening? What are those things that you would say to do?
Well, I think it's have fun, enjoy it, enjoy learning, enjoy developing, and if you do that, you're inquisitive, you ask questions, then your life is going to be interesting.
But this is another one that we say that hey, come on, parents, listen to your children too. We're telling the children to.
Well, they're very simple things. I mean, if your child has just played a game and you've got busy and missed the game or whatever. You've got a way of approaching it, and I'm just using this as a way to open your mind. You know, many parents might just think the easy question is, did you win? Now that's binary. Either they won or lost.
Yeah.
You don't know. So there's a chance that I lost.
Yeah.
Then the conversation is closed down, and the child is actually hurt, because they've admitted to you, their parents, they want to impress, that they've lost. Now the question that has open, almost infinite open replies is, how did you play? Now if it's, I didn't play very well, then you can work on that, you know, and you don't even ask if you won or lost. And if they say, well, you know, I played really well, but I lost.
Oh dear.
So you see how it works.
Yeah, of course.
And and that's why I'm saying the past is the past, the future is the future. As you become more aware of the ways you can help your child, or your child can help themselves, then you've got a better future. And that's what it's bringing a better future for young people. That's all it's about.
I'm so proud.
A brighter future.
I am so proud and privileged that you came on the show today, because I think it's the show today is going to kind of show people at the very top and people that are starting out, and especially the coaches, because I think those are the people that has got something special too when they do identify that you identify with.
But again, the coaches, you know, many coaches are brilliant, but many coaches hang on to their children too long, so they actually hold them back.
Yeah.
So how do you get them to realise where they are in a structure, and what their purpose is in a chain that without one link in it won't reach the distance? And people often ask me, I said, who made the biggest difference in life? And I said, well, it's a chain. The links reach the distance. You take one out, however small. I didn't make the distance. I wouldn't make the distance without it.
We've got these. I was in the forces, so I joined the forces when I was 16, and You were only as strong as your weakest link.
Exactly.
You pulled everybody along, and I can see the link between you two that you've created here, which is I'm very proud to be interviewing you today, because this has been a special time for me, and it just reiterates everything that I'm doing, and I know that it's going to be for our listeners too, because those people that are making a difference, you go on and you make a more bigger difference, because it's possible. You've just got to keep on believing. So I know that he's given me the signs over there to say how much more, and I'm sorry to do this, I really am, Helen, but I just want to, what was it like getting on the blocks? What was it, getting undressed, ready, putting all your stuff into the crate that you had?
Well, the first time it was lamb to the slaughter. I was 19 years old. I'd never swum for Great Britain officially in my life before, and so it was daunting. I was young, foolhardy and overconfident. I could do it. And I got through to the final, and walked into what they call the cool room, which is double glazed glass box on the side of the pool. Now they have a corridor and headphones on and stuff like that, but back in the day they didn't have any of that. And you walked into this little room before the 100 metres breaststroke, and the door closed, and there were the 7 other fastest people in the world in the room, and one official, just in case a fight broke out, I suppose, I don't know. They were just an official in the room. And outside you could see gold medals being won, lost and presented. And it was 800 metres women's freestyle, so we had about 40 minutes in this room. Well, it felt like a lifetime, actually, quite frankly.
Dear.
And the door closed, and it seemed like it hermetically sealed. And there were the TV sets showing what we could see going on outside, these gold medals being won. And there in the room were the lions, the gods of my sport, and me from West Sussex, who is fallible as the day is long. And I kind of swallowed, my mouth dried, and it was like somebody pulled the plug out of the room, and I went down the Plughole. And eventually I got to the block saying, I've got to do well. And I got 7th place. 4 years later, I'd prepared myself properly, and it's not physical. Of course, it's physical. It's as much mental as physical, because what happens is if something's new, if you're in a place for the first time, as I was in that room, it feels new, it feels odd, and it feels threatening. And our natural instincts are to slow down when it feels odd, new, because it might be dangerous. We might get eaten or speared or whatever. And you slow down. And in my case, I blew up. I just tried too hard. I couldn't get my head in the right space. But what I did was train myself to be ready for the room. And when I came up to breathe with 25 metres to go, I had Dr. Peters, the cycling psychologist, has this little thing, a book called A Chimp on Your Shoulder, I think it's called,
right.
The paradoxical chimp. And he talks about this chimp talking on your shoulder.
Yeah.
You're not as good as you say. You're much more beautiful. No, you're not. And I came up, and the chimp turned into a gorilla, I think. He said, Duncan, if you don't do something right now, you're not going to win. And there was a pause. And all the training, all the people came together, and I said, and that's totally absurd.
Dear me.
And you won.
And you won.
It was your cheering that made the difference.
Please. I kind of, again, I'm holding this medal that just represents so much. And you passed over it like it was just a moment in time. 4 years. But you've been doing this for, I got to congratulate both of you for what you're doing for sport and what you're doing for the youth trust. It's amazing. It really is. I didn't know anything about it, but I can feel your energy. It's like, and I do wish you luck in your presentation, your seminar tomorrow.
Thank you.
You deserve all the accolades. because you've
Can I
done.
have my medal back now?
Please. And the great thing about this is I'm not sure whether you've watched any other podcasts, it doesn't matter, but if you listen to all our podcasts, when you see people that are making a difference, they've got the same kind of comments that you're making, but they didn't win a gold medal, but that didn't matter to them. They always are striving to win that gold medal. But you've come on the show and I feel I've known you forever, and it's like you're just a nice guy.
Well,
it's
I don't know about that, but I mean, it's a process, and if you buy into the process, you realise the value of other people and how you depend on them.
And
it
he
just
is a nice
changes you.
guy.
Yeah, he is a nice guy, and you're a nice lady too. I can't shout enough to say thank you very much for coming on the show.
Oh,
You've been
thank you.
fantastic for our listeners. You've been fantastic for me, and you've helped me now to even push harder. And I'm 53 years old, and I'm never going to give in because of those things that you can make a difference. And you just shout out. Oh my word! It's just been an amazing journey. So I'm going to have to wrap it up. I will give you your medal
Oh,
back.
thank you very much indeed.
I hope I just want my children to be kind of see. It's kind of
Here we go.
yeah, exactly. It's brilliant. Congratulations. Good luck with your show tomorrow. What can I say? Everybody, I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. We've all got it in us. Okay, are we going to win the Olympics? Are we going to kind of win the next biggest thing in your sport? Does it really matter? Are you making a difference? Are you changing somebody's lives? That's what you can do, and we can all do. You're actually doing it. Everybody, thanks for listening. Thank you to our wonderful guest. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.